Greetings! We back with another video. Today is March 2nd, 2023. And in Square-enix and Sony antics with the release of Final Fantasy 16, some new information has come up. Now, Sony right now is in court with Microsoft because Microsoft is trying to buy Activision. We all know that Sony don't want them to buy Activision because they believe that they won't be able to sell enough Call of Duty games. Like, Microsoft's just going to take it away from them. And that could be true. If they take the company, if they buy the company, that's what's going to happen. But the judge recently granted Microsoft the rights to get all of the undisclosed documents from all of Sony's exclusivity deals from 2019. Now we will finally see what that deal of Final Fantasy VII Remake was really about. Because originally, in the beginning, Sony said that they had exclusive rights to Final Fantasy VII Remake for 6 months. They even put it out there in the media. It was actually on the case, game timed exclusivity. And then all of a sudden, 6 months go by, and Microsoft gamers still didn't have it, PC gamers still didn't have the game. It's still not released on Xbox. Now, it finally came out about a year and a half later on PC, locked to their Square-enix accounts. But, you know, all of this stuff is now coming out. But what was very interesting, aside from that, is that an interview came up recently with Yoshida, Final Fantasy 16 designer, and he pretty much gave some points here, and I want to pretty much just read them to you. So regarding the PC version of Final Fantasy 16, during the broadcast, your comments became a topic of discussion. Please, could you tell us again? Yoshida, firstly, for Final Fantasy 16, due to the time exclusivity contract with Sony, we cannot release other platform versions for 6 months after the PS5 version is released. I suspect many people probably don't know why we entered such contracts. Well, obviously we do. Obviously we do. You lost a lot of money with that Avengers game. You lost a lot of money with that Forspoken game. So yeah, you guys are pretty much looking a little hemorrhaging money right now. I mean, that's just how it's looking. Square Enix is not looking good as what we perceive it to be. But we'll continue. From players' perspective, I think they perceive it has something to, like, it is for the hardware manufacturers to sell its own hardware during the contract period. Well, yeah, I said that in my previous video that, yeah, it seems like when they released Final Fantasy VII Remake and it was only supposed to be a time exclusivity for 6 months, they extended it. That's what it looked like to us gamers. You signed a contract, or you pretty much made a deal with the devil with Sony. Because it seems like you guys are bound to Sony. And it shouldn't be that way. Gamers should be able to play Square Enix games. You know, you don't sit there and release a game and then tie it exclusivity, lie to everyone and say it's supposed to be only for 6 months, and then it extends for another year or two. And like I said, Xbox gamers still haven't got it. They still haven't gotten it. And I'm not an Xbox fan, I'm not a Sony fan, I'm not a Nintendo fan. I am a gamer. So don't put those connotations on me. But anyway, Yoshida continues. Of course, I think there is also that kind of intention on the hardware manufacturer's part. However, from our point of view, the technical support we receive from the hardware manufacturer is a big factor to signing such contracts. Well, yeah, Square Enix they signed a deal with the devil. Pretty much, you sat there and locked yourself into something. And the way it's looking is you don't have a lot of money and resources because your development teams are stretched so thin now with these failed AAA games that they released over the couple of years that hasn't made a profit. And that's one of the reasons why Luminous has been disbanded. Your own engine is no longer exists. You just fired all of them, pretty much. Some you probably kept, but a lot of them are gone. So that Luminous engine that they use Final Fantasy 15 on and Forspoken, you know, it's pretty much, it's a wrap. It's over. And they know that. But overall, it's like they're sitting here trying to convince the gamers that, oh, well, you got to understand, it's not because we are trying to keep the game away from you. We got these contracts. Well, yeah, you signed the contracts, Square. You signed the contracts. You signed this deal with Sony, and this is the reason why y'all in such a funk right now. But we'll continue. This time, there was a portion where we were developing together with Sony engineers who know the hardware thoroughly down to the core, and we received generous support and optimization that we could not manage on our own, and so on. Also, by not developing on the premise of multiple platforms, we could invest more man hours into things such as building the game and optimization. Okay, so they're getting help from Sony pretty much. So this game, I don't even think Final Fantasy 16 is ever going to be released on the PC no time soon, not even on the Xbox. If this is an internal engine, and it's not the Unreal Engine, it's not the Luminous Engine, this game is never going to be released on other systems. And if you don't have a PS5, you're not going to be able to play this game. That's what they're pretty much telling everybody. Because I guarantee you, when Final Fantasy 16 get released, it is going to have a massive day one patch. It's just going to happen. And hopefully the performance is good, unless they have to delay it. But they're saying it's locked. Firm release date, June. We will see. We will see. But anyway, in addition, we can also do promotions together globally that make me wonder, how much would this be if it was converted to money? Technological and promotional support are things we would like to receive if we can receive them. So, from a business perspective, they put themselves in this bind. They release all of these flops, and then they have to rely on old games just to make money. Square-enix is in a decline. They're not looking good. They get some third-party games out there like Valkyrie Profile Lenneth or whatever. That was a pretty good game. They got to release a lot of these, nostalgia bait games. Like even that Final Fantasy collection that came out, they want $75 for that junk. $75. And all they did was buffer out the sprites to make it 3D. That's all they did. So they're not releasing Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. They are hell-bent on making sure to sell Final Fantasy 16. Now they're going to sell Final Fantasy 16. But I just saw a recent video, they pleading on Twitter, please pre-order Final Fantasy 16. I don't know. I don't think Final Fantasy 16 is going to see my numbers like even Final Fantasy 7 Remake, especially if it's tied to one system. When Final Fantasy 7 Remake came out, they sold copies from the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 4. So they made money off of that. That was just full-blown nostalgia right there. But you're going into the new Final Fantasy, and I don't think they have a strong base in Japan like they used to anymore. I don't think the Japanese gamers give a shit about this game. I think they're really banking on the Western market, because the Western market has your Game of Thrones and all of these, Viking movies, and they's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna really get it, but they got. I don't think it's gonna work. There's a lot of other companies out there that's gonna be cranking out some RPGs too. You got Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, that's coming. You got Breath of the Wild, that's coming. So it's gonna be very difficult to try to find footing for Final Fantasy 16 in June. And that's only if it doesn't get pushed back or get delayed or whatever. May have some graphical hiccups. But this is a new engine. This is an engine that they claim they're using on Final Fantasy, that online one. But I don't know. We will see. But with this article right here, in this interview, it seems like they sign themselves into a bad contract. And this exclusive contract, it ain't looking good. I mean, there's no secret. Sony just released a whole bunch of PlayStation 5s. They're ramping up production. You can find them now. Before, you couldn't find them at all. And a lot of developers delayed their games because of that. Because if they're going to tie their main IP to one console, you're putting yourself in a bind. Instead of releasing on multiple consoles, you're going to put it on one console and hope to God that enough households have a PlayStation 5. But we shall see. But yeah, this video, I just want to wrap this up. This is just my take on what Square Enix is doing with Sony, the backdoor deals that's going to get released through the courts, and we're going to see. We're going to see how much money that Sony has been paying these developers behind the scenes for these exclusive games. And why Microsoft and PC gamers and other, can't get the game, because they want to tie it to keep it on Sony. But that's gonna wrap this up. Rate, comment, subscribe, tell me what you think. And I'll come back with another video. Peace.